Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Okay, today, August 12, 2024, is the International Youth Day. So it's our day, and we are here to celebrate the celebration of International Youth Day. So I'm sure more participants will join in us momentarily. Please go ahead and share your name in the chat box and write one thing you're proud of as a young person or that you were proud of when you were younger. So please feel free to continue introducing yourself in the chat box. I'm looking forward to an engaging and insightful discussion with all of you. So it's very fantastic to see the diverse talent and passion represented here today. Today is our day. Today is the International Youth Day, and here we are to celebrate this day. So youth are not only the future, but the present. Youth are full of energy, passion, and the ability to enact change now. Youth are not just the next generation, but active participants in the current one. So welcome again, everyone, to our International Youth Day webinar on the theme Youth Resilience in Times of Crisis, Building a Strong Future Together. So my name is Salamoit Gebrameskel. I'm a social worker by profession, and I'm currently serving as a board chair for Plan International Ethiopia Youth Advisory Panel. And today I will be your moderator for this event. So this webinar is organized by the member of Plan International Ethiopia Youth Advisory Panel. So Plan International is a global organization dedicated to advancing children's rights and equality for girls. So with a strong presence in over 75 countries, including Plan International Ethiopia. So our user advisory panel is made up of talented and very vibrant young leaders from across Ethiopia, and they play a vital role in shaping the organization priority and initiative. So, um, so as I told you, our webinar theme is building resilience in conflict, and today we celebrate the International Youth Day, and young people are highly, as you know, young people are highly vulnerable during conflicts, natural disaster, and crisis. So their education, health, and overall well-being can be severely disrupted with access to critical service often limited. So today we will discuss on this issue. So we have the privilege of hearing from our inspiring young leaders who are driving change in their community. So now let's give a round of applause to our amazing panelists. Um, Before we dive into the panel discussion, let me quickly run through the agenda for the next 2 hours. So we have packed program, including there will be welcoming speech by Mr. Hiwati Sumacho, the Deputy Country Director of Plan International Ethiopia, and there will be opening remark by Honorable Dr. Fatih Mahadi, the member of House of People Representative and Vice Chair of the Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee, and then there will be presentation by our estimated panelists. Then following the panel discussion, we will open the floor for Q&A session, where you will have the opportunity to engage with our panelists. Then at the end, we will wrap up the webinar with some closing remark and key takeaways. So first, we will hear a welcoming speech from Mr. Hiwati Sumacho, the Deputy Country Director of Plan International Ethiopia. The floor is yours, Mr. Hiwati.
Thank you very much, Salamoit. Good morning, everyone. This is Hiwati Sumacho speaking. As clearly just introduced by Salamoit, I'm working as a Deputy Country Director, and I'm honored to acknowledge the participation of Dr. Fatih Mahadi, the member of the House of Representatives, and the Vice Chair of the Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs. We are really just grateful to have you in this vibrant conversation that we are going to have with the Youth Advisory Panel. It's not the Youth Advisory Panel for Plan International Ethiopia, but it's a Youth Advisory Panel for the country in terms of voicing the youth. And I'm kindly just requesting all the participants to count that all the protocols are preserved. It's very difficult to mention all the protocols of the participant, but I kindly just requested to keep in mind that all of the protocol is preserved. We are really grateful for this day, as clearly highlighted by Salama. It is the International Youth Day, and this is a day where we also just celebrating the achievement and the resilience of the youth, particularly looking Ethiopia as a country and globally as a world phenomena. We are living in a very difficult circumstance. And the theme of this day is to celebrate the youth resilience in time of crisis, specifically looking from the perspective of building the stronger uh, future together. We are not denied with the situation that we are in, but if we are really just collective, our joint voice effort, definitely we can have a capacity to build a better future. So the event is not going to just really see the conversation and the information exchange that we are going to have, but this is an event that we also just expected to commit on the critical actions and the key takeaways. Before jumping in terms of really just highlighting the global, regional, and the Ethiopian phenomena from the perspective of the humanitarian crisis, as we all know that the world is moving in a very different direction. We can really just calling a number of conflicts that's happening globally and how that conflict is also just impacting the youth. We can mention the Ukraine-Russia conflict. We can mentioning the protracted conflict in the Middle East. We can also just mentioning the conflict in Gaza and our neighboring countries in Sudan. Since that the conflict and the political turmoil is happening everywhere. And coming to our country, it's quite unfortunate circumstance where we are also just experiencing conflict here and there, and the northern conflict is also just a short memory that we have, and the conflict is also just this very small scale conflict is also just happening in the different corridor of the country. We can take an example, the current conflict happening in Amhara region. Looking Ethiopia is not only just a conflict, but we are also just quite experienced with a different crisis triggered by the climate change. Being that any minor climate change is also just affecting the livelihoods of the community, specifically the youth are highly affected. So, as a country, Ethiopia, we are living in a very complex, fragile situation where we are also just experiencing with multiple and overlapping crises as we speak right now. More than 21 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance across the country. We can also just mentioning the number of students, including the youth, out of the school as we speak right now. The figures might be vary, but more than 7 million school age children are out of the school. Specifically in the situation in Amhara, around 4 million students are out of the school for the last one year, including the mental health impacts, the economic disruption that we also just experienced, being that the current conflict and other crises also just triggering the economic shocks and economic crisis that also just affecting or increasing the youth unemployment. So in many aspects, the youth are the first victims. It might be just related to the run out of food. It might be just related to the mental health, but the youth also just affecting with a different crisis. However, though we are living in such a situation, but we are also just really proud with the capacity and the resilience of the youth. In the different parts of the country, youth are still continuing to be productive in terms of being as an active agent in the conflict resolution, the peace mediation, in terms of bringing innovative ideas to sustain the livelihood of themselves, but also just the household. So it's not really just undermining the capacity of the youth, but if we are really just looking to see the capacity and the resilience of the youth as we speak right now, we are also just proud with their capacity. Had it been that that resilience is not there, the overall economic instability will be fueling with a huge number of youth in a country. So as we really just mark the day, we need to just really celebrate the capacity and the resilience of the youth. And we can see how we are also just going to do things differently in terms of empowering the youth and making use as a protective agent rather than the protection risk in a country. When I say a protection risk, it's not looking from the perspective of protection, but in terms of also just making the use as a peace mediator and avoiding the negative impact of the use in fueling the existing political instability in a country. The last point that I would like to just mention is today we gather from the different corner, and I believe that the team from our international federation is also just joining us. This event. This event is not a kind of a discussion event. This is something that we are also just expected to explore. What are the practical capacities that we have on use, and how we are also just going to just agree on the critical and the key action that we can take forward in terms of empowering the youth, creating space for the youth, and helping them in terms of really just shaping the country future. Not only just looking Ethiopia, but also just how the youth in Ethiopia is also just helping other neighboring countries in the economic development. So having said this, I'm really happy and honored to be part of the webinar. And I'm kindly just requested some Rawi to invite our distinguished and honor guest, Dr. Fatih. Over to you, Samrawit.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to appreciate and thank you for organizing this webinar. I hope you hear my voice. I would like also to thank Ethiopian Youth Association Council, also Plan International, for organizing such a wonderful webinar with the youth. Ms. Salamawit, the moderator, thank you very much. Also, Mr. Hiwate, thank you for the opening remark. Also, I would like, good morning, my greetings to all youth participants. And I would like to say congratulations on celebrating this youth day. Thank you very much for having me once again. So I would like to make a small remark regarding this celebrating this youth day, especially with the theme of resilience for the youth, how the youth should be resilient for situations happening all over the world, at globally, regionally, and locally. As my colleague or Mr. Himoti already said, there are a lot of challenges occurring in the world nowadays while we are celebrating this International Youth Day. At globally, there are challenges, there are wars, there are conflicts, there are economic unrests. Also, when we come to our region, there are regional tensions. We have seen what's happening in our neighboring countries, including Sudan, Kenya, Somalia, recent Al-Shabaab attacks. Also, when we come to see our country, Ethiopia, there are some issues, critical issues, sometimes minor internal conflicts, sometimes major internal conflicts, inflation, unemployment, natural and man-made disasters, and all this, including also global warmings. Also, I forgot to mention the war between Ukraine and Russia and the situation in the Middle East. All these are affecting. Also, we see the situation on the Red Sea. The Houthis and other groups are having impact on the movement of goods on the international trade. And all this creates a very, very great impact on our daily life, because we live in one global world, and a single event occurring in one corner of the world is affecting our daily life here. So, as a country, as a nation, as a country living in the East Africa, as part of the world, our country totally will be affected in all these events happening, whether they are man-made or natural disasters occurring, political, economical, social. Whatever happens in one part of the world is affecting our country. So the youth, especially, what they have to do, and all stakeholders, including the government, including the youth, everybody has a stake to take a responsibility and to move forward and to face this challenge and to overcome this challenge and to develop our country. So every single person has a responsibility. When I say this, especially the youth is the driving force. It's the majority population in our country. So it's a leading population which has a bright future, which builds the future. Though it is living in the current, they are also building our nation. So the first and the most important thing is for the youth that I would like to mention is to participate in peaceful economic development programs, which are initiated by our government to actively engage and involve in what's going on in the country, whether political, economical, or social. There are methods and the means and opportunities that the government is trying to set forward for the youth. For example, let me mention some few pointers what the government is trying to endeavor that you already know it, but let me mention some of them. Let me start with a recent one. For example, our government has made agreement with United Arab Emirates, if you remember, with 5 million coders project. It's a recent project which is initiated by our Prime Minister, His Excellency, and it is for the youth. This is one step forward for the youth to use this opportunity to change their lives and to become internationally competitive, so that they will change their lives. And in the face of all these global changes, they should not be just sit and wait for employment. So this is an opportunity initiated by our Prime Minister, His Excellency, so they can register and they can be part of this coders program, which has already recently started. Another one is the Ethiopian Statistical Service for 2070-2070 Ethiopian calendar has needs around 43,000 data collectors. They already announced it for the next Ethiopian year, 2070 Ethiopian calendar. There are around 43,000 data collectors needed by Ethiopian Statistical Service Agency, so that this youth will be engaged in data collection for agricultural samples. Ministry of Workers and Skills is endeavors to send skilled laborers abroad. As you have already seen, there are a lot of developments, there are a lot of changes. Skilled employees are being sent to various countries, Middle East, and nowadays it's starting to send some to Europe countries, and this will be increased in the future. Also, to mention some of them, Artificial Intelligence Institute is also providing summer training for the youth, and so many youth are registered. As you know, that artificial intelligence is very critical and important nowadays. So this training opportunity is already provided. Another possible example is the opportunity created by the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Youth and the businessmen are working together on fisheries. 9,450 tons of fish per year will be yielded. It's a potential. So this is another opportunity created by the Renaissance Dam for the youth to engage in fishery and other projects. Another point that can be mentioned is a recent one is the corridor project that we have seen in Addis Ababa city. It has created for about 47,000 youth a job opportunity. This is only in Addis. So if we see the same corridor projects happening in other major cities of Ethiopia, this will create a very big project. This is with Addis Ababa project is run by its own budgetary from local resource. So with our government resource, with the population resource, the youth can engage and use this opportunity. Also, the youth can engage in volunteer activities such as repair and constructing homes of the needy and the elderly people. They are already engaging in various regions of the country. The recent one I remember is in Harar. They have been restoring and repairing homes of the elderly and the needy people. So this will help them learn and exchange culture. They will learn from each other. It will also help them improve their skill and cultural exchange programs among different nations, cultures in our country. So volunteerism is also one major thing that the youth can use during this difficult and challenging moments. Also, the involvement of the youth on national issues is very critical. They should be part of the decision making, the youth. For example, recently there is a national dialogue running in our country, if you are aware, I think all of you. So this national dialogue is the most important and the critical element now for our country to bring peace and to develop our nation and build our national interest. So the youth, they should involve in this peaceful national dialogue attempt. And nowadays topics are being collected, and in the future there will be a discussion. Also, there is an online application which was recently developed by youth, women, and social affairs ministry in cooperation with UNICEF. There is an online application, if you heard of it, You Report Ethiopia. The application is called You Report Ethiopia. It is an application, online application, whereby the youth are empowered to voice their own ideas and the needs, and to be heard. It enables them exchange their ideas and obtain latest information. So this application is already launched, and the youth can use to voice their needs, which is very excellent application. So active participation of the youth for state building and the nation building, local peace and security engagement is very important. As we have seen nowadays, there is economic reform going on currently. So this economic reform requires the participation and active engagement of all citizens in the country, especially the youth, because there are people that expecting that this economic reform will bring inflation due to devaluation of our currency. So this, at this critical moment, we need the government and the country needs active support and involvement of the youth to support this national economic reform, because the government has been planning this, and there were aids that we have already obtained from our government. We have already approved the aid, 1.5 billion, as you already have heard from the news. So it's going to be implemented under this foreign currency shortage and the economic gap, which is occurred due to this long historical debt that our country has. The government is trying to solve this economic problem, the gap that has been occurred due to the past regimes and the past economic activities. So these economic reforms, local economic reforms, are underway to create job opportunity and to change the economic situation of the country. And the government is strictly and seriously working, but it doesn't mean that there will be no challenges. There will be challenges. Nowadays, we are seeing that some traders, some local traders or businessmen are hiding some of their products, and the government is challenging them. So this we need to support and stand with the government to help, especially the youth should help, and to keep the peace and security of the country, they should play their part by organizing themselves in different organizations. We remember that the recent event happening in Kenya is led by the youth, because the government said a tax reform bill, a new tax reform bill, and the majority of the youth are not accepting this. And they were engaged in demonstrations that we all have seen, which the effect will be not good for the whole country. But the youth have the right to voice, to speak, or to demonstrate. But for the stability and the peace of the country, always it is important to be proactive, to address the needs and wants of the youth, especially the youth which are educated, university graduates, and new high school, those who finish the high school, they should be engaged in various activities that the government has already said, that I have already mentioned, and to actively watch, follow, participate, all in all opportunities available. That's what I have to say for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency Dr. Fatima Hadi, a member of the House of People and Representative and Vice Chairperson of the Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee, for those inspiring words. That was really thought-provoking. Thank you for sharing your insights on the importance of youth resilience. Thank you, Your Honorable Dr. Fatima Hadi. I would like also to thank Mr. Hiwati. Thank you for your unwavering commitment to empowering young people. We are very excited today. We are very excited that many participants is here with us to celebrate the International Youth Day. Ms. Chipo, the Regional Youth Engagement Manager, has also joined us today. We would like to thank you and say welcome. Thank you, Ms. Chipo, for joining us. Now let's move on the heart of our program, the panel discussion. As I mentioned, I'm trying to introduce our estimated panelists, all of whom are vibrant young leaders who have been demonstrated a remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. So let me first welcome our Youth Advisory Panel Vice Chair, Hanadi Yusuf. Hanadi Yusuf Daud is a young Ethiopian advocate for girls and women's rights, focusing on political participation, youth involvement, and mental health awareness. As a psychologist and capacity building officer at a local civil society organization, Hanadi has been active in both national and international advocacy works, including grassroots events, from the grassroots events to the high-level meetings, such as with Ethiopian president. She has represented the Swedish embassy as one-day ambassador and she was also recognized by the Canada embassy as change leader. Hanadi, the floor is yours. Welcome, Hanadi.
Thank you very much, Salam, for your amazing introduction. Hello, everyone. International Youth Day. Thank you and young people face during crisis, like natural disasters, for example, flood, earthquakes, landslides, and droughts, and human-made crises like wars, economic problems, these situations can make life very difficult, especially for girls and youth, for us. When these crises happen, everything can change. Schools might close, jobs can stop, and getting healthcare becomes much harder. This change can cause big problems, especially in places where people are already struggling. So first, let's talk about the problems that girls face during crisis. Next slide, please. So girls are at risk of many dangers. For example, in some places, families might feel they have to marry off their daughters at a young age because they cannot afford to take care of them. Uh, in Ethiopia's context, there was the number of child marriage was reported to have increased by 69% in Oromia and by 264% in Somali region in just 4 months in 2022. So this is a big danger for girls. Girls also face more violence during crisis. So girls are also face more violence during crisis. When things break down, they're more likely to be hurt or taken advantage of. I was an advocate for a girls' crisis in the context of the Borana drought in 2023. So in that case, there was an increase in GBV while girls traveled distances to fetch water or collect foods, and increased GBV while girls are left alone while the male family members look for food and livelihoods. Can also heighten the risk at exploitation and abuse, since the lack of food can lead into sexual exchange. Another big problem is education. When schools close, girls might have to stay home to help with chores or because their families cannot afford to send them to school. And whenever a crisis happens, the girls are the first victims to drop out from school, and this can make it harder for them to have a good future. Crisis also cause health problems. When there is not enough food, girls can become malnourished, which can affect them for life. It's also harder for them to get health services they need, especially for things like reproductive health. On top of all this, girls often have to do more work at home, as we mentioned earlier, which leaves them with little time for school or personal growth. They might even have to find jobs that are unsafe or don't pay well. Like transactional sex is one of the jobs that we witnessed just to help their families. Now let's talk about the challenge faced by young people during crisis. One of the biggest issues that their education gets disrupted. Schools close, and without their normal routines, many young people lose their motivation to keep learning. Not everyone, almost more than more than half of the Ethiopian population has no access to online learning, especially those in rural areas, which can put them even further behind. Economic problems are another big issue. Many young people lose their jobs or cannot find work during crisis. Even after the crisis is over, they struggle to find any job. This puts a lot of pressure on them to find any job they can, even if it's a low paying or unsafe. Even after the crisis is over again, it will be very hard to find a job. And it makes the young population to leave that dependency state. This crisis also affect young people's mental health. The stress and worry about the future can make them feel anxious and depressed, and especially the fact that there is a very much lack of awareness in mental health area. Where there is a saying that in my country, where people think that depression is a rich person's disease, and if you're poor, you cannot have mental illness, and that you're being you want to live a luxurious life. So in these areas, again, being separated from friends and family can make them feel lonely, and often there is not enough mental health support to help them through it. There's also a lot of social disruption. Young people might be separated from their families or lose their sense of community. They can also be influenced by negative peer groups, which can lead to risky behavior. Additionally, during crisis, they're more vulnerable to being exploited, whether through trafficking, child labor, or sexual exploitation, or another addiction. So, what can we do to help? Next slide, please. So what can we do to help girls and youth during these tough times? We can set up temporary schools or use technology like radio, online tools, TV to help them keep up with their education because education is key. We can also provide scholarship or financial help to families so that girls can stay in school. Health and protection services are very important. Mobile clinics can offer basic health services, especially for mothers and children. We can also create safe spaces where girls can go for support and protection from violence. Training local health workers can ensure that health services reach everyone who needs them. We also need to help girls and young people earn money. Job programs that offer cash for work can give them immediate financial support while also benefiting the community. And also, vocational training can help them learn skills that will help them find jobs and start small businesses. So when we talk about the role of young people in helping our community, we as young people can also play a huge role in helping our communities during crisis. We can lead by raising awareness in our community about how to prepare for and deal with crisis. Youth-led projects like conserving water and distributing food can make a big difference. I don't know if you all remember, but the youth population played a big role in Borana Road, creating the awareness and collecting as much as they can to help the community there. And it's also important for us to build our skills and connect with others. Training programs in disaster management and leadership can help us take on important roles in our communities. Forming youth networks allows us to share ideas and resources with others. Finally, we should have a say in the decision that affects us and that affects our lives. We should be included in discussions at all levels, especially when it comes to issues related to crisis. Because as they say, youth are only used as a war tool, and when there becomes peace, we're not involved in that. So we should be involved in any issue related. And supporting youth-led research and advocacy can ensure that our voices are heard by those in power as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so to wrap this up, girls and youth face a lot of challenge during crisis, from the risks that they face to the disruptions in their education and the pressures on their mental health. These challenges are very real, but with the right support, like continuing their education, getting health services, and finding economic opportunities, they can get through it. We also have the power to make positive change in our communities by building our skills, supporting each other, and making sure our voices are heard. We can also create a brighter future for all of us. Next slide, please. Last slide. So after saying all this, let's commit to standing by each other and supporting each other during crisis and tough times. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you very much for listening, and I would like to say Happy International Youth again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hanadi. Wow. That was an incredible presentation. Thank you for your presentation, Hanadi, on the topic of girls and youth in crisis. You mentioned the challenge they face and the strategy for supporting girls and young women in crisis situation. I appreciate the fact that you shared your related personal story. You really brought the concept of youth resilience to life, and you use your time effectively as we give each panelist 15 minutes to present their slides. So thank you, Hanadi, for your presentation. Uh, many people are joining this webinar. Today is the International Youth Day, and we are celebrating our day. And Mr. Charles, regional policy advocacy and research advisor from Plan MISA, also joined us today. So we would like to say welcome and thank you for joining this webinar. So now we move on the next presentation uh, on the topic adapting to climate change, youth in a forefront of climate crisis by Hannah Kidane. Hannah Kidane she is also a member of our youth advisory panel. She is an international relations graduate and passionate advocate for women's rights, climate justice, and humanitarian law, experienced in various leadership roles, including club service director and community service director at Rotract, and engaged in the youth advisory panel, as I mentioned, and skilled in advocacy and well versed in legal frameworks surrounding human rights. She's very committed to promoting justice and equality on global scale. So Hannah Kidane, please present your slides. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today to discuss a topic that is incredibly important for our future, which is adapting to climate change, youth in forefront of climate crisis. As Salam said, my name is Hanna Kidani, and I'm here to talk about how we as young people are not just the future, but the present leaders in climate action. Our involvement is crucial, especially here in Ethiopia, where the impacts of climate change are being felt every day. So give me a moment so that I can. When we talk about the importance of youth involvement in climate action, we say that youth involvement in climate action is vital because we are the generation that will face the most severe consequences of climate change. In Ethiopia, over 60% of the population is under 25, meaning we have the numbers, the energy, and the creativity to drive meaningful change. We are the ones who will inherit the decisions we made today. So it's essential that our voices are heard and our actions are seen. Um, we mean that by it's about taking real steps to protect our planet, influence leaders, and inspire others to do the same. Whether it's organizing local events, spreading awareness on social media, or different activities in our local areas. Um, global climate change impacts. Climate change is a global crisis that affects everyone. We're seeing more frequent and intense extreme weather events like rising sea levels and significant loss of biodiversity. These changes aren't just happening somewhere far away, they're happening here and they're happening now. In fact, and the frequency of extreme weather events globally has increased by 300% over the past few decades. Um, by seeing this, there are different key examples of youth participation in our world. One of them being Greta, which she is a Swedish young youth girl that focused on climate action. And her and her classmates developed a youth movement called Fridays for Future, which is a movement started by her, where students skip school on Fridays to demand stronger climate action from leaders. And the next one is African Youth Climate Assembly, which is a collective of African youth advocating for climate justice and pushing for sustainable development policies across the continent. So inspired by these movements, we should be taking account and pushing for sustainable policies and holding leaders accountable. Next slide. So climate change, when we talk about climate change, specifically in Ethiopia, the impacts of climate change are severe and immediate. Droughts, water scarcity, and desertification are threatening our agriculture, which is the backbone of our economy. Over the past 30 years, Ethiopia has experienced 8 major droughts affecting millions of people, particularly in rural areas. These conditions not only threaten our food security, but also our way of life. One of the most powerful tools we have as youth is our voice. Youth-led movements like Greta and, as I said before, like youth assembly, show us how advocacy is effective. These movements have already contributed to over 100 climate-related policy changes worldwide. By participating in protests, policy discussions, and awarenesses, campaigns, and different advocacy methods, we can ensure that our concerns are not only heard but acted upon. But advocacy is just one of part of the equation. Innovation is where the real change happens. Ethiopian youth are developing new technologies and when the worldwide world are developing new technologies like mobile apps that help farmers predict weather patterns, enhancing agricultural productivity and resilience. These tech solutions are not only helping our communities adapt, but they are also putting Ethiopia on the map as a leader in climate innovation. Beyond innovation, we also need to focus on sustainable practices. Ethiopian youth are leading the way in implementing initiatives like community gardens and recycling projects. These actions not only reduce our environmental footprint, but also foster a culture of sustainability in our communities. For example, urban gardening projects in Addis Ababa are promoting local food production and biodiversity, contributing to both our health and our environment. The impact of climate change on youth livelihoods. Climate change is not an environmental issue, it's a threat to our livelihoods. In Ethiopia, frequent droughts have caused a 30% increase in school dropout rates and affected areas as families are focused to migrate in search of food and water. This disruption in education limits our opportunities and future potential. Moreover, as the agricultural sector, which employs 70% of Ethiopian youth, struggles with declining productivity, job opportunities, and becoming scarcer. Education is a key to our future, but climate change is putting it at risk. Droughts and floods led to school closures and displacement of families, meaning many young people miss out on education entirely. In rural Ethiopia, it's a common story where students are forced to abandon their studies to help their families survive. Their loss of education opportunities have long-term impacts on our ability to contribute to society and build resilient economies. Agriculture is the backbone of Ethiopian economy, as we know. It's 80% of Ethiopia's GDP is based on agriculture, and it's a place where it employs 70% of the youth. However, climate change is threatening this sector. Erratic rainfall and prolonged droughts and reducing crop yields and livestock productivity. This doesn't mean less food, it means fewer jobs. With 70% of Ethiopian youth depending on agriculture, for their livelihoods, it creates a cycle of poverty and instability that's hard to break. Climate change also affects our health. Rising temperatures and changing weather patterns are leading to an increase to diseases like malaria, which has been a 40% rise in certain Ethiopian regions due to climate change. Additionally, waterborne diseases are becoming more prevalent as access to clean water diminishes during droughts. These health challenges not only impact our ability to work and go to school, but also affect our overall quality of life. Empowering youth and climate adoption. Despite these challenges, we have the power to adopt and lead. Ethiopian youth are the forefront. Next slide, please. Forefront of community-based adaptation projects. For example, in drought-prone areas, young people are leading reforestation efforts, implementing rainwater harvesting systems. These initiatives are not just about survival, they're about building resilience. By taking charge of these projects, we're laying the groundwork for future where our communities can thrive despite climate change. Now, next slide. The big question is, what can we do or what can you do? Everyone of us has the power to make a difference. You can start by joining starting a local environmental group or participating in community cleanup drives or even launching your own climate project. Your actions, no matter how small, contribute to a larger movement. And to make it even more engaging, I'm challenging you to share your climate action plans on social media by using a hashtag that's comfortable to you, and let's inspire others to join. So by doing this, we can say that the future is in our hands. The future is in our hands. Our actions today will determine the world we live in tomorrow. By becoming together, sharing ideas, and taking bold steps, we can create a positive impact that lasts for generations. Remember, every effort you make brings us closer to a better, resilient world. I'd like to end this reflection activity. Please take a moment to write down a commitment you'll make to help fight climate change in the chat box so that we can be part of the solution. Thank you. And I want to end this session by saying a quote that Native Americans use, saying that we don't inherit the world from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So thinking about our children and our future, let's protect our world. And I say Happy International Youth Day. And in this International Youth Day, think about your environment and your world. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Hannah, for your insightful presentation on the topic of adapting to climate change used in the forefront of the climate crisis. As we know, climate change is ended a critical issue we are facing currently. And as you mentioned, the voice of young people is the key in addressing this challenge. So I found the solution you outlined to be truly amazing. I mean, the way you link in the role of youth to driving sustainable climate action was particularly compelling, from mobilizing grassroots movements to influencing policy decisions. It's clear that young people are the forefront of the fight against climate change. Thank you, Hannah, for your insightful presentation. The youth resilience in times of crisis, building stronger future together is our webinar theme. Happy International Youth Day. Now we will move on the last presentation by Wudasi Mariam, Talaun and Nihal. Wudasi Mariam is a recent graduate of law and final year sociology student. She is a passionate humanitarian advocate of girls in crisis. She is also very interested in education in emergency, gender equality, and refugee rights. And Nihal, he is only a refugee in our user advisory panel. He serves as a user advisory panel representative from all refugee camps in Ethiopia. Nihal is a refugee user advocate since August 2022. He has more leadership traits and quality. He started leadership when he was very young. And Nihal has a stunning behavior in which he is able to handle change no matter the background. So he was announced UNHCR youth representative since November 2023. So I would like to invite Mudasi Mariam and Nihal to present your slide. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I was saying Happy International Youth Day for everyone, and I am here to say a few words and to set the ground for Nihal, our youth representative from Gambela Hunil refugee camp, to share his experiences and more realistic view of the role of the youth in humanitarian crises. So it's been saying that young people are not just passive victims of conflict and humanitarian crisis, and that they are a powerful agents of change. And I believe that celebration of this day is one way of recognizing our role. And there are also other tangible changes driven by the youth. And these days we see that the youth are stepping up to lead their communities and advocate for peace, and also to contribute to humanitarian efforts around the world. And I believe that it's because we are done being the victim of humanitarian crisis, be it a natural or man-made, such as conflicts. And it's because we are done being the victim of those humanitarian crises and taking all the consequences, but we are committed to bring the change that we want to see, and we are united for peace, because usually the conflicts are are happening because of because due to resort to armed way of solving and solving disputes and not sitting around the table and coming into common understanding. And I believe that this resilience and creativity, also determination, makes us invaluable in addressing the complex challenges posed by conflict and crisis due to different reasons. And in many conflict zones and humanitarian settings, youth are at the forefront in initiatives usually because they are eager to rebuild communities, to support their vulnerable populations, volunteering to promote peace and reconciliation. And we bring the fresh perspective and innovative solutions to the long-standing problems. And this often bridges the divides and fosters the collaboration in ways that the older generations might struggle to achieve. They could obviously they are more experienced and they could bring solutions, but there are also things that the young people understanding the young people face, and they definitely bring a fresh perspective to that as well. And this clearly indicates that the youth are not just victims of circumstances, and they are the leaders, the innovators, and also the change makers, and that they're not just waiting for change, but they are driving the change that they want to see. And especially in countries where majority of the population is the youth, in majority of African countries, for instance, youth are the forefront of of the forefront of any conflict. Usually they are even majority of the times they are even those the majority ones engaged in the conflicts themselves, and also they are the majority they are the most facing the consequences, and they are also, and that's why they should be the ones who should bring solutions and who should foster the change. And it's also very important that their views and roles are recognized in making decisions accordingly, because their contributions are vital in shaping more effective and sustainable solutions, and especially in challenging environments such as refugee camps or IDP centers, where they are very they have a very crucial role. So today we have a privilege of hearing from someone who embodies the spirit of resilience and leadership, as Salam introduced. And Nihal is not only a survivor of a conflict, but also a very powerful advocate for the rights and well-beings of others in similar situations. So please join me in welcoming Nihal, who will be sharing his personal experiences and insights on the role of the youth in humanitarian settings. Nihal, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to welcome you all to the International Youth Day that we're going to celebrate by using this important webinar. As it is being said by my YAP chair, I'm the only refugee in the group, but of the very much importance, I'm included since 2022, and I'm really working hard to make sure that this opportunity is changing not only myself, but others. So the introduction is already completed by Salam, and speaking from a very good experience of living in conflict affected area, I would like to share our roles as a refugees in peace building, conflict resolution, and community supporting during crisis. So as you see how you saw the quote that is on the slide is, we are striving for a lasting impact. That's what we are looking for. So I hope everyone is ready, and let's dive into it. As you have seen from the first slide, because I have divided my slide into six, I've divided my presentation into six slides. So I will just start with the refugees' roles in peace building, which includes leading campaigns. You know, as a refugee or a youth in displacement, since I was involved, I know there are a lot of duties that I could do, and I could also involve others to make their own contribution to the community as well as the country. I was working as a refugee, and indeed my contribution will not only benefit refugee. I'm working with passionate young Ethiopians that are together with me all the times. So leading campaigns since August 2022 is one of the crucial deals that we are doing as a refugees in the camp to make a change. Because, you know, whenever you are trying to deliver the best or the strong or powerful message, you should have to lead the campaigns and then deliver that message so that other mass can hear about that. The next one is raising awareness. Awareness is usually done on different occasions, especially whenever there is international days. We should have to talk and advocate about well-being of others, especially right now in conflict-affected areas. Girls are suffering a lot more than girls because and more than boys because they are more vulnerable. So we usually use international days to raise awareness and also use the conversation, community conversation, to make sure that we're on the track of what we're doing. The third one is arranging communal tournaments. Specifically in 2024, we arranged at least two communal tournaments. What I mean is that a tournament or a games between host community and refugees. Plus the celebrations that we usually do. Whenever there's celebrations, we will involve Araria, the refugee protection partner in Ethiopia, and then we will invite participants from host community to come and share cultural games and many more. The fourth one is writing proposal for funding. Whenever an opportunity rises up, we'll be notified to write our own proposals, ensuring that our needs are in the first priority. The fifth one is carrying out peace building sessions. Since November 2023, I was given the opportunity to lead all peace building sessions in not only refugee camp, but also in host communities. The next one is deliver key messages. As you know, some of the communities are in primitive areas right now, regardless of the world that is growing so fast. So delivering key messages is of vital importance and play very big roles in shaping the lives of others. Then the other one is give advice or recommendations. For example, I usually like to talk so much about the advice and recommendations to the stakeholders that are leading peace conference. The next one is lead peace building trainings, conference, and workshops. I would like to speak frankly from my experience of me when I was traveling to Uganda in November 2023. I was very happy to have the experience of sharing idea with not only the people of Ethiopia, but also the people of different countries. So we were able to lead the trainings, conference, and workshops. This brings us to the penultimate at the last, signifying the room for improvement. Frankly speaking, I usually like to signify the room for improvement so that if there are opportunity or funding, I should have to talk and explain myself, and so that other can understand the situation I'm in and help shape the life of others that are in similar circumstances. And finally, the best practices. If we recognize best practices, we will simply dive into using that one and advocates about it so that all the people in the community can adopt that best practices. Let's come into youth-led initiatives and conflict zones. As you know, the status and all the conflict effects will not prevent us from making difference. I have at least around four programs, seven programs that I'm leading together with all the youth in the refugee camp. The first one is mentorship program. You know, whenever you're affected by conflict, you should to 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 be involved in counseling process, counseling process, monthly peace building sessions where you can express your ideas, how you feel, how you could be supported, skill peace clubs that can actually deliver a strong or powerful message to the school community, including PTA, parent teachers associations, teachers, directors, etc. The last one, the fourth one is adults and boys and girls clubs. You know, these clubs are playing a very vital role in disseminating not only building messages but also the change for making a community where all people thrive regardless of sex. Yeah, the sixth one is community structure. The fifth one is community structure. You know, since 2017, Plan International have structured a fees, have structured a community structure which involve a lot of community members, community associations, civil society, and many more other clubs to make sure that we advocate for others' well-being. The penultimate is refugee central committees. This serves as a local government in the camp and indeed play a very vital role in making sure that we are on track and the camp is really safe. The last one is community associations. You know, community association serves as a bridge to peace and making others work very well, and the situation that they advocate for could be adopted by other youth. This takes us to the third slide. The third slide is about the strategies for engaging youth in peace building and reconciliation process. Involvement of the youth during the decision-making process is very crucial when it comes to making a plan or a strategy. For example, when I was in Uganda attending the workshop, we were involved in different groups, discussion, different youth planning, and indeed I was talking a lot about the way we could be supported regardless of the displacement situation we are in. The second one is training. They used to lead the peace building efforts. You know, when you're trained, you would be given some insights on how you could support not only yourself but also others. Thirdly, there's giving youth representative the opportunity to express themselves. Specifically from my own perspective, when I get the opportunity to talk, I usually talk because if I don't talk, it usually gives me a sense of feeling that seems like I'm depressed. So I usually like to be given the opportunity to express myself and talk about what's going to be done. The fourth one is allowing them to own the program. Indeed, the program is in our own hands right now since 2023. We are leading the peace building program not only in in us and refugee community. We are allowed to involve in decision making. We're also allowed to involve in the intervention strategy where we should have to express our requirements to be implemented in the future or in the immediate future. Our primary roles is usually to have a strategy where our needs are involved, regardless of the planning process. Yeah. The last one is involving them in the planning process. Whenever there is a plan about youth, we are usually involved in Ethiopia to make sure that we advocate for our change, our voice, and what we have to do in the immediate future to make sure that we have the ultimate goals that we want to achieve. This takes us to the fourth slide, which is supporting youth in developing resilience and coping mechanisms and resilience and coping mechanisms in conflict affected areas and migration process. The first one is very crucial when it comes to peace building, are making that youth are calm, equipping them through community conversations, meetings, trainings, and conferences where they can talk, they can express their ideas, they can interact with stakeholders and indeed deliver the stronger message that want to be incorporated in the next planning. The second one is giving them a room to talk. As a young person, when you are given a room to talk or a space to talk and advocates about the lives that you want to see around you, there's a quote from well-known person that I've adopted. It says, be the change you want to see in this world. So if you want the change to happen, you must be given a space to talk so that you can explain the way you want the projects or actions to be implemented. The third one is involving in the sport competitions. You know, youth are energetic people, so if they are not involved in the sporting competitions, they will engage in other things. So allowing them to involve in sport competition and recognition is very crucial. The fourth one is allowing them to involve to meet with the stakeholders where they can discuss the change that is going to be brought, how the people who are going to be involved, and etc. The fifth one means giving them the voice matters. You know, whenever you are notified to make a difference, you'll become confident, you'll become equipped to make whatever is available for you, and you can express whatever is good to be put into practice. The penultimate is linking them to M8PSS, women mental health professionals, where they can be supported because in conflict settings, you may be suffering from trauma, psychological suffering, separations, and many more. So if we recognize a youth that is suffering from that, we have MHPSS professionals in the camps that will live in. So we'll link that person up with the professionals and then he will be counseled. The last one in supporting youth in developing resilience and conflict and coping mechanism in conflict affect areas and migration processes involving them in edutainment activities. That mean education and entertainment activities, so that they will grow as good people who can see the difference and work for sustainable development goals that we are on. As you know, in the world, challenge is very easy in everyday life, and it is an experience to every one of us. Challenge faced by youth in conflict zones is the next slide we're going to talk about. In the first, in the first point, it is unemployment. Unemployment. So unemployment is very difficult, especially when it comes to conflict affected settings. So youth are really suffering because they don't get financial outcomes from other places rather than employment. So if youth are not aren't if youth are unemployed, they will suffer because at least they will engage in crime activities. The second one is now digital tools like computers, tablets, and poor internet access. Frankly speaking, from one experience, I have experienced this one. Lack of computers and tablets plus poor internet access is preventing youth from attending conference and indeed learning from online courses and experience. So this hindered their poor development and it harms their career development. It prevents them from accessing the right information in the right time, and they will eventually grow into an adult person before they make the right decision for the future. The third one is security problems, which is beyond their control. For example, if the hosts are in conflicts, we won't get involved very much because we don't have the capacity to do so. That one is also a challenge. Digital literacy, illiteracy. This one is like similar with the second one, but the difference is that digital literacy means that you don't even know how to use computer or digital tools. It brings us to the lack of online courses and experience. You know, whenever you're in a very poor where there is no good internet connection, you won't be able to access online course and experiences. The sixth one is financial adversities. As the displaced youth, you will have a lot of financial adversities, but reducing them would be very important. This makes them feel very shy, and then they can feel unhappy and involved in conspiracy and other crimes. It also increased the crime rates in displacement setting. The seventh one is low socioeconomic backgrounds. When you come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, especially right now, not all refugees are suffering. There are people who have support externally and people who don't have anything at all. So low socioeconomic backgrounds also is a challenge when it comes to conflict affected. The eighth one is psychological suffering. You know, there are a lot of consequences when it comes to conflict, like depression, suicidal attempts. Yeah, this case, the second case usually happens in refugee setting, societal attempts. Whenever you think of no other solutions that can support your life, you will attempt to commit suicide, plus loneliness. So when you're depressed and unhappy, you will be lonely and you will stay alone. After staying alone, you will come across different feelings that can harm you, either emotionally or physically, or you can even try the societal items. The the penultimate is aggressiveness. Aggressiveness usually develops whenever you came out of the conflict. You will also adopt some conflict techniques, and you can suggest that won't exist all the time if you're not supported and counseled. The last one is anxiety. You know, people are very fearful when it comes to the depressions that happens in conflict affected zones. They will suffer, they will fear that there's no good future ahead, and they will always stay lonely and aggressive. So these terms are the reason why there is low productivity in displacement. The penultimate is involvement in crime and conspiracy. You know, when you are not engaging in entertainment activities and you are not actually working to make sure that you are happy and and lead a very vital life, you will involve in crime and conspiracy. The last one is limited access to livelihood activities. You know, in displacement setting, youth are immovable and they cannot move from site to site to get the right opportunities on time. So this limit their access to livelihood activities. That is a challenge faced by youth in conflict zones. Let's get into the next slide. Yeah, the final slide is about recommendations, what need to be implemented in the very near future whenever there are opportunities. And the first one is creating employment opportunities. For example, if there are no, if the international organizations have created opportunities for youth to be employed, they will become confident and then they can develop career development. The second one is educational opportunities. This is what I talk about since 2017. I advocate about that one because educational opportunities actually the reason why I'm here today. If I'm not educated, I couldn't come here. So educational opportunities is at least the best because without educational opportunities, without good education, you couldn't be employed. The third one is digital tools like computers and Wi-Fi plus good internet access are also on the top priority in changing the life of displaced youth. The fifth one is vocational trainings. When youth are trained vocationally, they can actually engage and then this helps them to get future jobs and indeed actually shape their future. The sixth one is capacity to lead youth-led activities. When you are capacitated, I've mentioned this one earlier. When you are capacitated, you will be given a lot of advice on how you can support others. So you will be able to lead youth-led activities in a very good manner, and you will be able to adapt to the situation like I do right now. This brings us to the eighth point, which is involved them at the very beginning of decision-making process. Specifically, I could say I appreciate Plan International staffs for recognizing me from a very low socio-economic backgrounds to involve in a very crucial decision-making that is shaping the life of the youth all over the country. I'm very much happy for that, and I want the other organization to adapt similar circumstance in shaping the life of displaced youth. You know, when you are displaced together with your capability, and if you are recognized, you can also make a difference regardless of the backgrounds. When it comes to the number 9, which is organizing experience sharing sessions, I've done this one 2 times since my nomination as a young members. I went to Addis Ababa several times to have experience sharing with my fellow youth advisors in Plan International. So that's very crucial. They can also understand my situation and they can also learn from me and I can learn from them. So experience sharing is very important. The penultimate is recognition and motivation. As a person, as a young person, individually speaking, when I'm recognized, I was very much indebted to the organizations. And upon that one, if youth are motivated, either financially or socially, they can become a very productive people in the community and leading activity that shape all this life. The last one is PSS and entertainment activities. When youth are given a place to be psychologically supported and involved in the entertainment activities, they will become a very good people and in developing resilience, they will become confident and they can shape the life of the other. This brings us to the last slide. I would say thank you very much and enjoy the International Youth Day from where you are. We're the same and we're looking for sustainable development that we are indebted to achieve before 2030. So the recommendations is actually well and you can, it's time for you to give your questions and suggestions. I would be very happy to hear from you. And thank you very much. So let's involve each other, refugees and hosts are the same. They are the same communities divided by different circumstances. So in the involvement together is can actually make a very big difference in shaping not only the people but also the world. You know, there's support that I usually like to say. It says serving my country means serving the world. Indeed, if I work for my country, I mean working for the world because my country is a component of the universe. That's what I would like to say. I'm very much indebted for the people that have joined this one today from different locations, including the government representative, the deputy country director, and the rest of the YAP members from MISA office. I'm very indebted and thank you from Ethiopia.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. With Dasi and Nihal for your presentation on the topic as agents of change in humanitarian and conflict setting. You both mentioned the important role of youth-led initiative in conflict zones and the unique challenge that youth face in emergency situations. What made your presentation particularly insightful and unique was the fact that we were hearing from Nihal with a first-hand experience. Nihal, thank you for sharing your personal perspective on this critical issue. It is invaluable to have the voice of young people who have lived through this experience. Your presentation has provided us with a deeper understanding of the realities on the ground and the urgent need to support and empower youth in humanitarian and conflict settings. I really appreciate you both taking the time to share your knowledge and insights with us today. And I would like also to thank Mr. Mesfin Saifu and his team in Gambela, Plantar National Regional Office for facilitating. Thanks for Nihal to share his experience. We really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. So let's give a round of applause to our amazing panelists. I'm very proud of you. All right, now it's time for the Q&A session. So remember, you can share your question in the chat box, or you can raise your hand if you would like to ask a question directly. So let's have an engaging discussion and learn from one another. So it's a time for lively Q&A session.
First of all, I would like to, happy International Youth Day, and thank you for all participants and panelists, for your smart presentation on the issues of youth all. And as one of the panelists, Hannady mentioned, current youth are facing a lot of challenges, from the natural disasters, economic challenges, and political conflict. So my question is, with this all conflicts, with these all challenges, how can current youth develop resilience behavior? And then we have to resilience to tackle these all problems, becoming problems. So how can we develop the resilience behavior, and who is going to be the main actor on the process of this behavior, developing this behavior? And the second question is for Hannah, on the global climate change. And so when we see the global climate change, how can we relate the resilience and climate change, the youth resilience, the young resilience and climate change? How can we relate these two things, and how can the current youth, play a role or a smart role on stopping the climate change effects? Yeah, and thank you for the moderators and Plan International Ethiopia for the facilitating this nice event. Thank you.
Okay, Nwai, please go ahead with your question.
Actually, I'm very thankful for the question that I've been asked by one of the participants. It is about how we can develop a resilient and who would be the actors. Actually, in conflict setting or in the country as a whole, developing resilience is a very crucial point. And I could say actually that the people who are going to be involved are the youth themselves, plus the NGOs, and even the government. So if they are involved, these actors, NGOs, youth representative, community youth, and international organizations. Those are the actors that would actually make a difference. And if the program is owned by the youth, it would make more difference in a very quick or in a very rapid situation and change the life of the youth. So that's what I would like to suggest.
Thank you, Nihal. So Hanadi or Hannah, you can answer your questions. The floor is yours.
For the question, feel free to ask another questions. But for my question, how can we develop resilience during these situations? Youth can develop resilience in tough situations like crisis by actively engaging in our communities and continuing their education and learning new skills, as I mentioned earlier, and staying connected with peers and mentors provides emotional support. I'm not sure if you all remember, but we really went through a very hard time during the pandemic of COVID-19 when we stopped going to school. So I don't know if anyone shares these feelings with me. And another one is while participating in youth-led initiatives can build confidence and leadership abilities. Additionally, developing a positive mindset and adaptability helps youth navigate challenge more effectively. And to the question, who is the main actor for this resilience development? I say the main actors in this resilience development are the youth themselves, but they need strong support from their families, local communities, schools, and organizations that provide resources, guidance, and opportunities for personal and collective growth. Thank you. This is my question. I hope I answered it very well. Okay, thank you. Hannah, over to you.
So I think I was asked how we can relate youth resilience and climate change with understanding the scope of climate changes. So youth resilience is deeply connected to climate change, especially in developing countries where the impacts are most severe. As climate change exacerbates challenges like food insecurity, water scarcity, and extreme weather changes, young people in these regions are often the front lines, adapting to these realities with limited resources. So their resilience is seen in how they innovate and lead community efforts to address these challenges, whether through sustainable farming practices or disaster preparedness or avoiding advocating for environmental protection. This resilience is not just about coping with immediate climate impacts, but also about challenging and transforming the systems that contribute to their vulnerability. By actively engaging in local solutions and advocating for broader change, youth can play a critical role in shaping a future that can withstand and adapt to ongoing and future impacts of climate change. So that saying, understanding the scope of climate change in these regions requires a nuanced view that goes beyond global trends to consider the specific localized impacts. Like climate change in developing countries not only intensifies environmental stress, but also it exacerbates existing social economic issues. So depending inequalities and resource scarcity. So root resilience is therefore not just about coping with environmental just change, but also about addressing these broader systematic challenges through practical and localized solutions and becoming part of the solution. So maybe I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you, Hanadi. Thank you, Hannah, for your reflection. Sarah, you can go ahead with your question, please.
Okay, then. First of all, I would like to say thank you and welcome everyone. And I would like to say happy. So it's your day, it's my day. So it's all of us day. Like today is our day. Presentations that are presented. But when I thought about the like youth resilience in times of crisis, there were two things that really came to my mind. So when I really think about this generation, one of the things that comes to my mind is how can we better equip young people with the mental health resources and support systems needed to navigate crisis, especially in the context of increasingly interconnected global challenges. I raised this question because it focuses on the importance of proactive mental health support and resource availability for youth. And my second question will be beyond individual resilience, beyond that, how can we foster collective action and empower young people to become agents of change in addressing the root causes of crisis and promoting sustainable solutions for a more resilient future? Thank you for listening me.
Can you repeat the first question, please?
Sure. Okay. So my first question was about our mental health. So my question is, how can we better equip young people with the mental health resources and support systems needed to navigate crisis, especially in the context of increasingly interconnected global challenges? How can we better equip young people?
Okay, thank you, Sarah. With that, you can continue.
So regarding how to better equip the young people in humanitarian crisis, and so that the youth would be aware of their mental health and to build more mentally resilient generation. I believe it's very useful to integrate the mental health into school curriculums, making the young people, the new generation, aware of mental health issues and how they can have healthy conversations, and reduce stigma, and also process their emotions properly. We could also have workshops and seminars like the one that we're having right now to organize regular mental health awareness sessions, and we could invite experts and who are more experienced people on stress management, maybe emotional regulation, and also recognizing signs of mental health issues. But mental health lately is not very pressing. It's not perceived as a very pressing need in majority of the population, because it's considered as a fantasy or some sort of Western concept. And I also believe that we need to work on this to make the people aware that it's actually a very pressing issue, and it requires a due attention. And I also believe that counseling services in schools and communities, especially in refugee crisis areas, is very important, and it will help the victims and survivors of, be it a gender-based violence or a conflict or any other traumatic experience, them cope up, and it will help them to reintegrate with the community and try to carry on their day-to-day activities, because before the time where they face those traumatizing problems. Online resources and hotlines could also contribute a lot by providing and offering self-help tools, informations, and a hotline where we can use to call when there is a crisis. And also promoting peer support networks would make them feel included, and would make the young people feel more comfortable speaking to someone of their own age, and make them more comfortable and gain more experiences. It will also help in destigmatizing mental health issues. And also social media these days is very accessible equipment, and we can use the social media for awareness as well. And I believe this would help us build resilience and coping skills among the youth, which by cooperation in cooperation with mental health advocates and families, also the communities, and also NGOs, also the government. I think these are the key things that will help us build resilient youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Wudasi. Thanks, guys, when we are having meaningful conversation. So let me give the floor to Nihal just for 2 minutes. Please reflect yours.
Yeah, thank you once again. And the question that I would like to answer is, how can we better equip young people in terms of mental health? Actually, a lot of points have been mentioned by our secretary with us MRM, but what is left out is the campaigns, raising campaigns and those negative cycles, social suffering. So if youth are trained and they are equipped, plus if they are well aware of how those things happened and how they could change them, so they will be equipped and then they will know where those services are available. If they are told where services are available and if they are given awareness trainings on different issues that cause social manifestations, they will be very good people, especially in crisis situations. Some of the people are not aware of how they can get the support and who they can run to when this thing happens. So raising awareness, as it has been mentioned before, is a very crucial point in making sure that youth are good and are psychologically supported. That's what I would like to add.
Um, Thank you very much, all of you, for your thoughtful questions and engaging discussion. We have covered a lot of ground today, and I'm truly inspired by the resilience and determination of our youth. Before we close, let me invite Ms. Tipo, the Regional Youth Engagement Manager, and also Mr. Hiwati Simacho, the Deputy Country Director of Plan International Ethiopia, to share a few closing remarks. So, Ms. Tipo, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. For every issue that was presented, there were a lot of solutions coming from the presenters, coming from the panelists and the discussion. I especially took note of the statement that young people are sometimes used as weapons for war, but we are also ready to be agents of peace. That was quite powerful. Thank you so much for that reflection. And looking at how young people are navigating issues around climate change, how they are coming up with solutions in humanitarian settings, it has been quite an inspiring conversation, just really a testament to the resilience of young people and how they can be agents of their own change and in making their societies better. It's a good thing to be part of this discussion, and allow me to say Happy International Youth Day, and how proud and inspired I am of the young people that we are working with in Ethiopia and how they've been an inspiration as well as a support to other countries that we are also working with in the MESA region. And for that, we are truly grateful and keep up the good work, and Happy International Youth Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Timpo. That was a powerful and inspiring speech. Thank you for unwavering commitment to empowering young people. We really appreciate that we have you today, and thank you very much. So, Mr. Hiwati, the floor
Yes.
is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Salam. Special thankfulness messages goes to Excellence Dr. Fatih for his very exciting remark, also just in terms of highlighting some of the great opportunity that the youth have where the government is also just leading. So thank you very much for that. Special thanks to our vibrant youth on the discussion that you made. And the discussion is not really just a discussion, it is more than a discussion in terms of really taking up some of the concrete actions on the realities that we are living. So I'm really sensitive not to watering down all of the productive and exciting conversation that we had, while I'm also just going to just put a kind of closing remark, being that we didn't have any agendas that we are going to close to today. Rather, we have lots of action that we expect to take up. For me, a very important point from the conversation that we had, I personally feeling that I'm quite impressed but we are also just hearing that the slice of the story that we have on the youth in Ethiopia. When we are also just hearing all the panelists, yes, of course, they are representing all the youth in the country, but it's also just the tips of the iceberg that we hit, and we can really just multiply all of the clear thoughts and impressive ideas with the 62% of the total population that we have. So we can really multiplying that to the bigger population figure that we have in a country. We know that it is an inevitable circumstance where we are also just experiencing an ever increasing humanitarian crisis globally. It is not only the phenomena of Ethiopia, but globally, the world is just moving in a very difficult circumstance. Not only just looking the politically triggered conflict, but the global climate change, the economic crisis, as we are also just connected in the globalization village, we are not going to be very immune on the phenomena that's happening globally. We can just really just imagine the situation of South Sudan, which our user representative is also just clearly highlighted the overall humanitarian situation, the level of sufferings, and all of the future of the country. Looking the current phenomena that's happening in Sudan and elsewhere. So though we are not directly just impacted by those, but we are not totally immune in terms of experiencing that impact, being that we are living in the global world. So there's an aspect of conflict, there's an aspect of global climate change, where Ethiopia as a country feels that we are not a contributor for climate change, but we are also just penalizing by the climate change. So we can really just sense how we are connected as a global community. There is also just an aspect of global economic crisis and global economic challenge. But the most important thing and the critical question that we need to also just put in our mindset is we have a very clear understanding about the capacity of the youth. That is the first question that we need to just really start asking from ourselves, and also just knowing the capacity of the youth. Do we aware about the opportunities that we have here in the country, in Ethiopia, as clearly just mentioned by the excellent Dr. Fatih, highlighting the lots of initiative and opportunities led by the government, but also just sitting in the global village, we have also just lots of opportunities. So we need to really know the capacity, the ability of the youth, and the opportunities that we have in front of us or surrounding us. So I think those are some of the very critical questions that we need to just really ask. Once we know our ability and our capacity and opportunity, how we are also just going to use and tap those opportunity with the existing capacity that we have to really develop our nation, to develop our country, but also just starting from developing ourselves, because developing nation, developing the country is also just a combination of developing ourselves. So I think those are some of the key aspects that we need to take into account. The next point is, I personally feeling that to represent the youth, I can really just reflect from the perspective of the machine. As we can just take as a single machine. There is an engine. There is also just a wheel and a fuel. For me, if the youth are properly placed on the right place, it also just fits with the three components of the machine that's expected to produce an output or an outcome. So if we really just focusing on building the capacity of the youth, focusing on the cultivating the innovative thinking of the youth that they have, and also just youth are somewhat adaptable. So if we are really just looking to see how we can collectively tapping all the youth capacity, I personally just representing as a machine that is functioning very well and producing an output and an outcome. We can be just an engine, we can be a fuel, we can be a wheel, where we also just expected to navigate the country to reach it is the destination. So I think the opportunities that we have, as excellent Dr. Fatih mentioned, we need to just really gear our thinking and our eyes how we are also just going to tap those opportunities, how we are also just going to just evolve in the region in terms of really just looking the opportunities that we have in our continent, but also just situated in the globalization village is something that I would like to just emphasize. As Plan International, globally and in particular Plan International Ethiopia, and as a girls focus and a youth center organization, we are more than committed in terms of really just looking to improve the education, not only just looking the specifically the youth, but in terms of supporting the children education, encompassing with the youth, in terms of looking the skill building, the economic empowerment, the food and livelihood security, and also just focusing on leadership, how we are going to support the youth to drive their ambition, but also just taking the leadership role, because this generation is also just responsible to take forward the country for a while. So all the youth is also just expected to just come on the leadership uh, phase, and how we are also just going to support the youth as an active agent in the peace building and the social cohesion. So those are some of the areas where we are committed as an organization, not only just taking that commitment as planned, but we are also just very keen to advocate on behalf of the youth, to advocate as a peer partner and as an organization in terms of looking to demonstrate an inclusive and meaningful participation of the youth in their work, the way how we do in the youth advisory panel. The purpose and the main objective of having the youth advisory panel is to review our behavior as an organization, how we behave, how we work against with our commitment, and how we are also just really tapping the youth skill and their capacity to integrate it with our work. So in that journey, we're much committed to take forward, to advocate with our peer partner, and also just supporting other organization to take the youth as their key priority. At last, it is not a day where we are also just celebrating the International Youth Day. All of the discussion and the dialogue shouldn't be a one-day phenomena. So it is expected to just keep us a live agenda, a live discourse, dialogue, and discussion throughout the year, more than 365 days in a year. So saying this, I really just excited with the conversation and the dialogue. I'm very impressed with the panelists, and with that, wishing to have a happy International Youth Day, and we can stand together to build our future, to build your future. I'm an outlier in terms of categorizing under the youth. So thank you very much. Enjoy that day. Keep that vibe and momentum for the throughout the year. And you need to just commit that this conversation shouldn't be end at 6 p.m. today. It is expected to just keep us alive, a live agenda for all of us. Thank you very much, Salam. Have a very productive day. Enjoy the Youth International Day. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiwati, for your unwavering commitment to support us. Finally, I would like to thank all of you. Especially, I would like to thank your Honorable Dr. Fati. Thank you sincerely for joining us the webinar and for sharing your insightful perspectives. Your contribution highlighted the pivotal role that youth play at all levels of society. We deeply appreciate the time and thought you put into your presentation, and your points truly resonated with our audience. Many thanks once again for your invaluable participation. Thank you, your Honorable Dr. Fati. Uh, and also, at the end, we really want to thank our panelists, Mr. Huati Sumacho, Mr. Charles, and Miss Chipo, as well as all of you who joined this webinar in the celebration of International Youth Day. And I would like also to thank Ms. Tigis Kaza, Head of Influencing and Communication, for your support in making this webinar happen. We would like also to thank to extend our gratitude to the Plan International Ethiopia communication team and all the staff of Plan International Ethiopia for their invaluable contribution. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for joining us today. This has been a truly remarkable celebration of International Youth Day. Let's carry this spirit of unity and resilience with us as we navigate the challenge ahead. Thank you very much all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much.